All right.
Emily and
All right.
Jeff and Susan. Yeah, we're good. to
Officially
roll.
started.
Okay, we're live. Call the design review committee to order here at 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 15th. Roll call.
Annette, you're muted.
Annette, we can't hear
Annette
you.
needs her microphone.
We couldn't even see she was
Sorry.
talking.
Can you can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Committee member Baranek, looks like she might be absent.
No,
Here.
she's here.
Oh, you're there. Yay!
She's here.
I just couldn't see her on the screen. Committee member Funk,
Here.
committee member Schmidt,
Yes.
committee member Vanden Eyck,
Here.
chairperson Newsom,
Here.
all present.
Okay. Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to
I'll move.
approve.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Committee member Vanden Eyck,
Yes.
committee member Funk,
Yes.
committee member Baranek,
Yes.
committee member Schmidt.
I was absent at that meeting.
This is for approval of the agenda.
Oh, today's agenda?
Yeah,
Here, yes.
okay. Chairperson
I'm
Newsom.
sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that is approved. Thank you.
This is part of the meeting where we're going to open it up to public comment. If there's any callers that have called in or are part of this webinar that would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda, please raise your hand. Or what's the star? What is it? Star
I believe
9?
if you're on the phone, it is *9, although it does not look like we have any phone-in callers at the moment.
Okay.
It does look like we have one person with their hand raised, Tony, so I'll allow them to talk if they have anything to say on an item not on the agenda.
Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Can everyone see me?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm here with my wife, and I know we have a number of other people joining the call. Is it just myself, or can you see other people's in the chat as well?
We
can
can
see
see everybody
Tony's
who's
name.
logged on.
Okay. Well, I think I only have 3 minutes, so I'll go quick here. My name is Tony, and I'm here with my very pregnant wife, Danny. We are the owners of Little Wings Preschool, and simply put, we're not only looking for your support, but we're looking for your help today. If you're not familiar with our program, we're right down the street, actually. Little Wings is an inclusion preschool for both typically developing children as well as for children with special needs and developmental delays.
Tony.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is the public comment for anybody that's calling in to speak for something other than on agenda. We're going to get to in just a minute. Did you
Okay.
want to speak about something other than on agenda in your
No, I
project?
literally just want to advocate for our thing here today, so I will go back to being quiet.
No, that's okay. We can talk about artichokes. We were talking about that earlier. Anyways, is there anybody else that would like to speak for a topic not on agenda?
Does not appear so.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to close public comment and we're going to move on to consent calendar. And that would be approval of the March 11th draft minutes.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
Roll
Can
call,
y'all-
please.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Committee member Funk,
Yes.
committee member Vanden Eyck,
Yes.
committee member Baranek,
Yes.
committee member Schmidt.
Now, can I say I wasn't in
Yes.
attendance?
Okay, and chairperson Newsom.
Yes.
So motion passes 4-1. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is development project review. We'll be going over design review of Little Wings Preschool building at 6895 Morrow Road. I'm going to ask if anybody's got any ex parte on this matter.
I have
Okay.
none.
And then I'm going to ask to be recused from this item and ask for somebody to step in and chair for me.
As the vice chair, I will step in and chair for you.
Okay, so I am going to leave the meeting and And then
Do you
Annette,
wish to-
you'll call me when you want me to step back in.
Do you wish to state a reason for the record for your recusal?
I have a financial interest in this client, so.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay,
But thank
See
you
you
for
there.
clarifying that for the record.
you're welcome. I'm also in the radius, 1,000 feet radius, so.
Okay,
All right, thanks. Bye.
thank you.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Take it away, Kelly.
Let's see if I can. All right. So this is a Little Wings preschool expansion project that we're looking at today. It's in the commercial retail zoning district, right along Morrow Road. It does back up onto Tecarita Avenue as well. So in summary, they're looking to add about a 1,400 square foot pre-manufactured preschool classroom type building that may also be used for some offices. The plan includes some landscape and parking improvements. Just as a side note, so the modular building for code compliance is actually reviewed by the state, but the city does retain authority over appearance review. This is their proposed site design. You can see the proposed manufactured unit there in the rear of the site towards Tecarita Avenue. And you can see some refreshed landscaping, although they do have quite a number of larger mature trees on the property that are proposed to remain as well. They are adding some additional screening fencing along Tecarita Avenue to screen the new building from the residential neighborhoods adjacent to those. And we've added some conditions as staff to increase some trees along the parking lot area to meet the parking lot shading requirements. They also do meet the 10-foot setback requirement along Morrow Road, and that will be refreshed with some new landscaping. And they do meet all of our code required requirements for site design and landscaping. In terms of the architecture, this is a picture of the modular unit that they will be purchasing. It's a pretty standard modular unit. It's white currently. The applicants are proposing to leave it white with some red accent doors, which will be facing Tecarita, and some black trim. So we are reviewing the site for compliance with our commercial standards for appearance review. And in general, we don't consider a standard manufactured unit to meet sort of our high quality design standards. So we are recommending some additional exterior design features, potentially some darker colors, some enhanced window frames, the addition of some awnings, and perhaps a trellis feature facing Tecarita Avenue to bring that up to compliance with our code. So in terms of DRC discussion items for today, we're looking at the site design, the parking, which they are enhancing with some accessible and drop-off parking spaces. It does meet our code requirements. Any setback discussion, fencing and screening and landscaping, and then architectural design, which I think will be the meat of the discussion, and any color and accent features that the DRC wishes to support or endorse or add to allow this structure to meet our appearance review standards. So I'm available if you have any questions. As we heard before, the applicant and I believe some other community members are in the audience and would like to speak on the project as well and can answer specific questions about the business.
Okay, Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you. What is high quality window frames, trellises, and what are the window frames?
So I think the trim on the existing structures is pretty sort of flat and nondescript. So we have seen modular units enhanced with just some more detailed trim features. Sometimes they put like a larger trim feature on the top and then smaller trim features around just as an architectural enhancement.
Is this a state licensed modular unit?
Yes.
So when you have state licensed units and you make changes to them, sometimes you have to have them re-permitted by the state. Is that the scenario here? Do you know?
We generally see that only with structural modifications. We don't see that a lot with additions to the exterior. A lot of times when we see carport or trellis additions, they're actually technically freestanding and not attached to the unit, although they do appear to be attached to the unit. So we have seen those modifications in the past.
So that is the case here, then they're basically going to be an inch away, the trellises and whatever else gets added to it.
Yeah, if that is the state requirement, then we're definitely willing to work with the applicant on not triggering an additional state review.
Is there a requirement for fire sprinklers?
Yes, in general, John is maybe on the call and can answer if he's checked in with building on this particular unit. Generally, fire sprinklers are required for new commercial structures.
And then if those are already in the unit, then those are also permitted by the state, correct?
Correct, yeah. And the city, in terms of building code, generally just looks at the hookup of the structure to on-site utilities.
The ground and the
Mhm.
utilities. Is there going to be a skirting? I don't see anything in the conditions about skirting.
I don't know if John's available to hop on. He was feeling under the weather today. I don't see anything about skirting, and so
It
if
looks
you
like
wanted
the
to add that
applicant
as
did
a
already
condition.
chime
I
in.
see a
with
note
that.
from Tony saying yes to a skirt.
Yeah, it will be
Um,
a skirt and not a kilt.
I can't recall, is there still a Tecorita drainage district?
No, the Amapoa Tecorita flood overlay zone, I believe, was taken care of with improvements along Morrow Road quite a few
With the
years ago.
Caltrain stuff? And then will there be, then there won't be a need to retain water on site with the building permit?
There will still remain our standard stormwater requirements, which does require a certain amount of stormwater detention on site.
And even if, I mean, the site seems to look like it has a lot of already impervious surface. Is the unit being put on top of or over impervious surface, you know?
Yes, the surface that the unit's going on is currently considered pervious, so that will add to the impervious area of the site.
Well, I meant impervious.
Okay.
What I was going to get at is that if it's covering impervious, then there seems to me no need to have to add storm drain stuff, but that's for others to understand. I'm a little interested in the kind of the sunset that's assigned to the permit on condition and recommendation number 5. Talking about that the unit, the permit is good for 6 months. It might need to be renewed if things aren't done within 6 months. And then there's a note about the director has the authority to grant 6-month time extensions if the project continues to comply with all zoning code regulations. Is this 6-month extension a continuous extension that the preschool has to come back every 6 months, or is there going to be a period of time in which they can operate for 5 years?
So yeah, so that condition just refers to issuance of building permits. Once building permits are issued, then it's a continuous operation of the school. But that condition basically refers to requiring permit issuance within 6 months of this approval.
That it was confusing. It says the director has the authority to grant a 6-month time extension if the project continues to comply with all zoning code use regulations.
Right, so the DRC's endorsement of this design and site design will be valid for 6 months, in which time they have to receive a building permit and move forward. And if they haven't received a building permit in that time, the director is able to issue an extension, providing that we haven't changed any rules and regulations regarding site design for commercial development.
So the extension has nothing to do with post land use permitting.
Correct.
No, it's basically making sure that we don't have an open-ended quote unquote entitlement here. In other words, let's say they decided not to install this now and came back to us 2 years later, that would no longer be valid. So this design review is valid for 6 months.
And maybe someone can answer later on, but I'm kind of interested in the emails that were attached to the report. Are all those people members of our community?
Well, let's get to that when we get to the public comment, and we can talk about the emails and where each of them are from. I'm not quite sure about
Yeah,
that yet.
I suspect. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Dennis. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Kelly, they're gonna be installing a fence, a Tecorita, a taller fence, 6 foot, is that what I saw?
Correct.
But yet we're requesting that they make architectural improvements to the side facing Tecorita. Will that be even visible from Tecorita?
Yeah, so the unit is set up fairly high off the ground on the foundation system that they're doing. And so like a trellis feature above the doors would be visible from Tecorita.
Okay. That's the only question I have.
Okay. Others? Emily, do you have anything you want to ask?
I do, just to clarify, this DRC or this design review application would be the only application reviewed by the city other than a building permit, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And also to confirm, they're not requesting or proposing to have any access to Tecorita?
Correct.
Do we know with the capacity that they're proposing to have, if they're adding, what the traffic volume would be? And is there any concern for congestion in and out of a single driveway on Morrow Road?
Our code doesn't speak to that a lot. There doesn't seem to be a lot of concern. I know with preschools, and we've spoken with the applicant and owner about this, is there's a lot of varied sort of drop off and pickup times. So as opposed to a more traditional school program where everybody's getting there at the same time, their parents do filter in throughout a couple hours in the morning and the same in the evening. So, we're not super concerned about a lot of congestion there. Tecorita is a very narrow road. People park on one side even though they're not supposed to. And so I don't think we would want to allow any access there unless there was an extreme safety concern.
Okay. All right. Yeah, those are all my questions. Thank you.
I've got a couple. Can you, Kelly, can you talk more about what exactly is the properties across the street on Tecorita? I didn't get a chance to do a site visit on this one. And I'm concerned about who's looking at the back fence and that.
Yeah, so Tecorita is a pretty narrow street. It's probably 20 feet or less of pavement, I would say. There's some really large sycamore trees along there that we've managed to maintain even with a roadway there. And then the other side of Tecorita is all residential. So small lot, single family, multifamily development packed pretty closely along that street.
So there's quite a bit of visibility to this back fence.
There is some directly across from this parcel. There's actually a street that goes into one of those developments and then houses flanking that street on either side.
Oh, okay. So it's not quite, nobody's looking right at it so much.
Yeah, I think you can see this Los Arboles Avenue that comes in.
Yes, and where in is the building going to be in the?
The building would be approximately in this location. Can you see my cursor?
No, I can't.
Can you see it here?
Oh, then now I can.
I don't know which screen it's on.
Okay.
Approximately this location.
Okay. And then where I saw in the plan that they were looking at oleander bushes, in oleander shrubs on the side setback adjacent to the parking area.
I believe that's this location.
Okay. That always gives me major heartburn in an area with young children because of the toxicity of oleander.
And I think we can check in with the applicant. That area already has a number of large shrubs. I think we have a couple pictures of the property that might see here show that well. Those might be existing oleanders. I'm not sure they're requesting or proposing to add any new ones. I believe those are mostly existing shrubs.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing from the applicant if they're amenable over time to doing something other than oleanders in that location for just for public safety. and safety of their kids. But that, you know, I don't know that that's a requirement, but it just that always makes me really nervous. Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you. On Tecorita, there are portions of Tecorita that are not built out, and that's why the pavement is so narrow in some of the areas. Are there, abutting this property on Tecorita, are those improvements built out to their extent or not?
I can't pull up GIS because my screen is being used by this presentation. I believe they are built out to the extent that we envision them being built out to. Tecorita is actually, I believe, a slightly narrower right-of-way than our standard local road right-of-ways. I don't believe we have a full 40 feet there. We probably have some additional right-of-way, but because of the nature of the construction and development that's happened along there, and then the existing heritage sycamore trees, it is likely to remain built as is, even into the future.
And because they're not, I mean, I don't think there should be any improvements on that side, but because they're not accessing Tecorita, it would make sense that they should not have to do any improvements on Tecorita. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're currently are not proposing, and I don't believe that the cost of the improvements that they're doing triggers the requirements for frontage improvements regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other, unless I'm missing somebody, not seeing any other participant questions, or member questions. So at this point, I would like to open it up to public comment. And is our tradition, our first opportunity for that is to hear from the applicant. And I believe Mr. Holder's here to represent the applicant. So now's your time, John. The perfect opportunity, and please take this chance to tell us about the school and what you're doing, and also address any of the questions that you've heard come up. And you'll need to unmute yourself, or somebody will need to unmute him.
And that's for Tony. Okay, yeah, that's.
Oh, is it Tony or who are we at? Oh,
It's Tony Berg. I think we want to hear.
Tony
Tony.
needs to do that. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Tony.
I'm unmuted now. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, hi, Tony.
Wonderful. Well, first and foremost, thanks for hearing us out today. Sorry I jumped in a little earlier. Again, my name is Tony Berg. I'm with my wife, Dan, and we are the owners of Little Wings Preschool. If you're not familiar with our program, we're an inclusion preschool for both typically developing children as well as children with special needs and developmental delays. We've been open for about 3.5 years now in partnership with MP Health in Mariposas project. So we offer speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling services to our kids and to our families. And as far as I know, there are very few programs out there, offering what we do. And as a disclaimer, I'm not even in the preschool myself. My wife, she's the director, she's the visionary. I'm just the behind the scenes guy that does things like this and builds picnic tables. So that's me. But the biggest thing I'm here today is, as far as advocating for the building is really, call it a child care, crisis that's kind of hitting our Central Coast. After COVID, we've had a lot of schools shut down. I think Chris from We Are the Care even sent in an email kind of going over how many families are in a Atascadero, how many families are being impacted. I believe in the last month and a half since we've been, waiting for our time to talk today, Busy Beast Preschool went out of business. Another home daycare went out of business. We've had 80 kids alone in the last 2 weeks join our wait list. And those are kids that we can't help unless we do have a building. Normally as a small preschool, we would not be able to afford a project like this. Luckily, we're graciously being supported by California First Five. They're helping fund this project. I believe they're on the call today. Very grateful for them. They've been sticking with us over the last 5-6 months as we've gone back and forth with John Holder with the city. We want to put a bush here, plant a tree here. Okay, this needs to be And I've read all the suggestions on the staff report. I'm happy to go through all of them with you. I think it's a great idea, actually, that we change the paint color instead of being white to being, more earth tone colors, green, brown, beige. Happy to work with you there. I can do the window framing if need be. We do need to talk about the trellis. I don't know if any of you are parents, but toddlers like to climb things, and I'm a little worried about a trellis in the front. I'm definitely open to keeping it green and doing something of that nature, but that is one concern we did have. But at the end of the day, what we're really advocating for is, your support and your help, and to making this, move along quickly to help a lot of the families here on the Central Coast. So that's my 2 cents.
Mhm. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. And let's see, Dennis, before we go recognize back from members, I want to hear from everyone else in the public that wants to do public comment, and then we'll come back to the committee. And I see Jason Wells with a raised hand online. So Jason, you are recognized, and would you unmute yourself and talk to us?
Great. Well, thank you. Committee members, my name is Jason Wells, and I'm the Associate Director of First Five San Luis Obispo County. Tony referred to us as First Five California, which there also is. There's a First Five in every county, and there's also our mothership, First Five California. In case you're not familiar with our agency, our mission is to allocate funds and advocate for quality programs and services for children prenatal to age 5, to ensure that every child is healthy, developing to their optimal potential, and ready to learn in school. And I'm here today to respectfully urge you to approve item number 2 for Little Wings, to expand their childcare capacity by adding this modular classroom on their existing site. I just want to talk a little bit about what has already been mentioned a bit. San Luis Obispo County has for many years been experiencing a growing childcare crisis. And in March 2020, this crisis worsened with the COVID-19 pandemic. And the pandemic made it increasingly difficult, if not impossible, for childcare providers to keep their doors open, which increased the pressure on an already strained system. Many childcare centers temporarily or permanently closed, as Tony mentioned. The pandemic has further solidified how essential childcare is, not only for early learning, but for a strong workforce, economic recovery, and family well-being. So in the fall of 2020, through a competitive grant process to address this childcare crisis made worse by the pandemic, First Five awarded Little Wings of Atascadero funding to support expedited expansion of their childcare facility. A partnership with Little Wings and the investment in their expansion is to provide an immediate increase in childcare capacity and relief to the many families who are struggling to find a safe place for their children to be cared for. The owners of Little Wings, Danny and Tony, who are on the call, have truly enthusiastically embraced this vision, and we believe wholeheartedly in their ability to deliver on this plan. And just a couple notes on, if this plan is approved, it would increase childcare capacity in Atascadero by approximately 20 spots, with potential for more later, increases childcare options for working families of Atascadero. It increases bilingual childcare, increases inclusion preschool, as Tony mentioned, and it supports the passionate and professional small business owners in their effort to respond to this crisis. So on behalf of First Five and the thousands of children and families we advocate for in Atascadero and throughout the county, I urge you to approve this project today, and to please do so with as few conditions as possible, that Danny, Tony, and everyone else at Little Wings can immediately move forward with this expansion, provide the urgently needed childcare. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there additional members of the public wishing to comment? This will be the time to do a raised hand, and I'm looking to see. We have. I see. Rochelle Bole. You are recognized.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, so my name is Rochelle Bollet. I am the Quality Early Learning Manager. I oversee our county's local childcare planning council and our quality counts. So our planning council is actually a state mandated entity. Every single county has one, and we kind of look at this overarching view of childcare within the county. And so we, in partnership with families in the community, plan for and promote the highest quality and accessible services for the care of all children and youth. And so I'm here today representing the Planning Council, as well as I believe you received some other public comment from my colleagues that also work on the We Are the Care initiative, which also looks at childcare and how we can support that, and the CAPSLO Childcare Resource Connection, where we also look at supporting childcare programs within our community. And I just want to say, one, thank you for taking the time to really diligently look at childcare within Atascadero, and then what this can also mean. And as Tony was saying, and as Jason has said, we are in a very critical stage of childcare and being able to support children and families. So early care and education is not just important for children, but for families as well, and the business community. So if employees don't have childcare, they can't go to work, which means we also can't have businesses running. So it is a huge trickle-down effect that has happened, and especially in Atascadero, as well as the rest of the county, but really hard hitting in Atascadero. There have been quite a few program closures through this pandemic, which are really affecting a lot of the families that are here, because again, if you don't have childcare, you can't go to work, you can't be a part of the economy within that. So when we're looking at this, I urge you again, just as Jason was saying, to approve this with urgency, because this need exists now. Families are looking for care and needing support now. And the timeliness of this couldn't be any more so, with all of the extra supports that happens. And as Jason had said, this doesn't happen often, where so many different funding entities are coming behind childcare to help support this. This is kind of this unicorn moment where we're able to really challenge our system and actually rise to the occasion. So we're asking you to join with us in that, and approving Little Wings as they're expanding. The other piece I would like to also share too is what Tony talked a little bit about in terms of an inclusive program. We have a handful, and I mean a handful, less than 5 dedicated inclusive programs throughout the county that really serve this need. It is a huge need within our community, and the fact that Little Wings is here meeting that need and then wanting to and having the ability to expand is huge. And it is a huge undertaking, especially when you're looking at children that do have special needs. It is not the same as all the rest of group care. There are a lot of additional steps and requirements that need to be taken in order to serve those children and families in the individual way that they need. So again, just another reason why this program is great. And I also want to let you all know, on top of all the work that they need to do with you guys, as well as with the city and permitting, there's an entire licensing regulatory body called Community Care Licensing that also will look at the health and safety of the structure of everything that's coming in and out, and also help support programs in that capacity as well. So knowing that children are safe and taken care of are our top priority within all of this. So thank you. And if there's anything that we can do to help support and also give you more insight into the childcare arena as well, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to comment from the public? All of our attendees have commented. Is there anyone on the phone, Annette, that's calling in?
I would say that Kelly would need to look at that, but I also do need to call out some of the letters that or emails that we received prior to this meeting when you're ready.
We will do that next. Kelly, is there anybody on the phone?
I'm actually going to shift that over to Mariah, because when I'm doing a presentation, I can't see.
Oh, okay.
So I'm here, I'm looking at the attendees and I don't see anyone on the phone.
Great,
Okay.
let's go ahead and go to the emails.
Here yeah, email. Let's hit the emailed comments.
Okay, so I'm going to, I did email everybody before the meeting today. There were some additional emails that came in. I'm going to just mention the names, and Every single one was in support of this project. The first was from Sarah and Matt Andrus, and they are currently parents at Little Wings, and they support and say yes to the project. The second one was from Shayna and Chris Bailey, and they also were writing in support of the project. We have Mindy Condi, and she said she's a parent of 2 young children, and she would also like us to support the project. We have Melissa D. Porter, and she was also would like the opportunity for more children and families and would like us to support this project. We have another parent here. It's the Hofer family from Ashley Foster, and she also would like us to support the project. We have Rebecca Graff, who also is writing in support and says that there's a need for high quality childcare and early childhood education in the North County. We have Susie Grosditch, and she said the community is in desperate need of quality childcare and would like us to support the project.
Hold on just a second. Can we all make the step of muting ourselves? There's somebody's got background.
You know, it's probably me because I'm in the office, so sorry about that. I'll make it quick. So I've got Erica Greenberg, who's also in support of the project, and Lorena Hernandez, also in support. Ashley Hughes, Stephanie Lovejoy, Gina Milia. And this is, we got an email from Shayna Paulson from CAPSL, who's the Children's Services Manager, who wrote a nice email. We've got Trisha Murray and Kimberly Paul in support, Mrs. Kano in support, Chris Raudebush, who is from We Are the Care, who wrote a nice letter. And the last one here is from Sylvia Watson from MP Health, who wrote a letter. And you all have copies of these emails, and they will also all be included as exhibits to these minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. And then there were additional messages that came in earlier that were part of the agenda packet.
Yes, those were part of the agenda packet, so I didn't have to actually read those because they were part of your packet.
Right. And I noted that one of those is explicitly from someone who lives across the street from the preschool. So an immediate neighbor. Okay. I will bring things back to the committee then for discussion. Dennis, go ahead.
I wanted to, I don't know if we can ask Tony a question and whether he can answer it or not. I'm sure he can. But what is the current capacity of the facility? And then I think it was the director of First Five had talked about maybe 20 spots that would be added with the trailer. I'm wondering about how many children attend now, how many will be able to attend with the new facility, and then just in general to the city, is there a maximum density that the property could have? In other words, if they needed to, could they add more space in the future?
Yeah, there's not a maximum density of children and classroom capacity necessarily. From the city, we do have parking requirements, and so obviously they would need to fit all of their required site amenities on site. So that in and of itself kind of limits the amount of building area that can be there. I think probably from a licensing standpoint, there's additional regulation.
In terms of the parking is, I would imagine that, like you spoke at the very beginning, there are peak periods at the morning and the evening. Is there a turnover rate with respect to the parking? How is parking looked at? Is that the spots are going to be occupied the entire day, or are they going to be
No.
occupied
Our-
for 20 minutes or?
Right, we envision a lot, but we have 2 drop-off spots that are required by code. So they've designed 2 wider parking spaces with some safety zones on each side to allow for drop-off spaces for parents to quickly pull in and then pull out. Obviously, it's a preschool. Some parents like to park and walk their kids in, but they're generally not there very long. So what we do see for long-term parking are, employees.
Okay. And then the number of parking spots we are seeing will then provide for the total amount of employees that they have, or there's going to be more parking available that's not just drop off or a parent parking and walking. I mean, is there, I think I heard 5 employees at some point.
There are some additional spaces beyond the employee parking spaces.
So there potentially could be more space added if the parking could work.
If the parking could work and an adequate turnaround area could be designed, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Was there anything else, Dennis, that you needed the?
I was wondering about the capacity, how many children do they provide for now? How many more will they be able to provide with the unit? And
Okay,
if
I
Tony
wanna-
can answer that, that'd be great.
I'm going to say, because we are sort of mushing our public comment and our back to the committee, I'm gonna make notes about any questions that we have for the applicant, and then I'll reopen public comment formally and allow the applicant to respond and anybody else to respond that wishes to, and then we'll reclose public comment.
Thank you, Susan.
So I think that's what I'm supposed to do. So we'll staff can tell me later if we have to be that formal with this committee, but that's the way we work it on the council. So so the capacity, I wanted to hear about the oleanders, if there is an opportunity to change those out, or what the situation was there.
Oh.
And go ahead, Dennis.
I had another question, and I'm wondering if the management agrees with the landscaping requirements that are noted on this site plan.
Okay, well, sound that they were agreeing, unless you're talking about the trellises.
No, the 24% landscape coverage, 10% required. It's that.
Yeah, okay. And any other questions for the applicant that we haven't already addressed? Okay, I'm going to now reopen public comment so that the applicant has the opportunity to address those questions. And let's see. If Tony, are you still on the line, or could you can you address those questions? We're looking at what's the current capacity and how much does this increase?
Yes, I am definitely still here. I can happy to help out there. The child care capacity, we're currently licensed for 22 children at any given time. The Department of Social Services is our licensing agency, and they actually come out with their own, ruler, and they go out and measure absolutely every square foot. They have a way of calculating. I believe it's 35 square feet inside, so 1440 divided by 35 would give you how many kids you could technically have. And the answer is that's more than we would actually take on. Our plan is to immediately grow to a little over 30 and then see how it goes. And then I know we want to go and, touch the tail base of potentially 40, but that's we want to grow it reasonably. I don't know if you've had a preschool before, but adding 12 new kids in at one time, that's a no-go. As for the oleanders, the kids are, I don't know how to answer this, but the kids are never over there. That's the other side of the parking lot, and they're always with their parents. They literally get dropped off, walk straight in, walk straight out. Kids are never in that parking lot area. We've never had an issue in 3 years, so I don't foresee that being an issue at all. Yeah, I don't know if I could offer more comment beyond that. Did that answer the question?
Sure, that does fine for the oleanders. And then the other question was, are you comfortable with the, other than the trellises, with the general requirements laid out in the plan for landscaping.
Yeah, I did have, they wanted us to put trees, shade trees in two parts of the property, one in the front, one in the back. Putting it in the back, if I'm being frank, would be a nightmare to try and figure out. I don't know if, if we have to do it, I'll figure out a way. I like to pride myself in being a problem solver, but I know we can definitely do a tree potentially in the front of the property, more closer to the entrance. We actually already have a tree in the ground there now. It's only like 6 feet tall, but it will grow. If that counts for anything.
Like the preschoolers.
Yes.
Could staff comment on the tree at the back and what requirement that's about and what flexibility there might be on that?
Sure, yeah, I'm trying to look at our landscape code right now. So in general, our code requires a coverage of parking lot areas, a minimum of 10% shade coverage. Right now, they do have some existing trees on the site that likely do provide some shade coverage. So definitely, if they can meet that 10%, there's small trees existing though, then we're happy to look at that. You can also make an exception to the landscape standards based on a couple of findings, and probably the most applicable finding would be the retention of on-site native trees, which it looks like those back trees probably constitute some native trees. So there could be some flexibility there if you wanted to sort of state that finding and then allow us to work with the applicant on appropriate tree locations, but not necessarily specific to the rear portion where the playground area is.
Okay, thank you. Dennis, go ahead.
Dennis, you're muted. Dennis, we can't hear you.
Dennis, you'll need to. Dennis, you gotta unmute yourself.
All right, am I
There
now?
we go. There we go.
Now we got you.
I'm interested in the finding that you just talked about. And so because there are native trees along, primarily along Tecarita, and that they are retaining them, then that's somewhat of an offset for not having to add additional trees?
Yes.
Thank you.
And go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, Kelly, on the shading, does that have to be a tree to shade the 10% parking lot? Because it seems like the oleanders, depending on where the sun is, might provide more than that.
I think on the sun, yeah, the south side of the site is kind of the opposite side of the oleanders. Obviously, they get some building shade. The code is specific to tree canopy shade coverage for parking lot areas. And in fact, some landscape fingers are required that they're already sort of not providing because it is an existing site that's just being upgraded. So, I think with a tree in the front, if we get the right tree that's, kind of bigger, that'll be sort of over the drop-off zone, and that'll be nice. And then we can certainly work with the applicant on some flexibility to choose something appropriate, either in that play area or maybe off to the side of the parking lot where there could be some shade gained.
And okay, so on that, I mean, obviously, if they plant a small tree, it's not going to provide any kind of shade at first. So what is the requirement for that? How long does it take before they have to meet that 10%?
I think our code, and I don't want to look all the way through it. I think it gives you a certain period of time. So, generally landscape architects will look at what is the standard canopy width and, in a 10-year tree. And I think that's what our code speaks to is for a 10-year tree, what's the average canopy size and can you meet the 10% coverage?
Okay, thank you.
Dennis, go ahead.
Landscape architects, is a landscape architect going to be required to provide a plan? Or is it something that the preschool can plant on their own? It could be a program.
Sure, it's something that the preschool can plant on their own. Staff definitely has a good idea of what those sort of larger canopy trees are that would provide shade and appropriate tree species.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, Emily?
Just to clarify, it didn't look like it, but are any existing trees being proposed to be removed? Removed?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And you were making reference, Kelly, to the playground area. Could you use your cursor to show us where that is on this thing?
Yeah, so I think kind of this is
looking
their
at the
existing play area here. They have some existing smaller trees here. So I don't know that those would reach capacity to shade. So we were kind of looking at, you know, this location here to provide some shade coverage over here. And I think that's the area of concern for Tony.
And I see a comment from Tony that the backyard play area is completely covered with shade sails. So it is.
Yeah, they do have shade, yeah, over the play area. Our code concern is parking lot shading.
Right, okay. And Misters, he says, yeah, the parking lot issue is that, you know, urban effect that comes when you have all that, the sun hitting asphalt and in a confined area. You know, so there is a reason to be concerned about, you know, the localized effects of parking lots on that.
Yeah, I could understand it if they were adding, but this is all existing from what we're being told. So anyway, I'm interested in making a motion to approve the project, and I'd like to alter the, in the approval, alter the landscaping requirement with the finding that has been spoke about.
So we're going to require, just clarification, we do require the shade tree in that front area, and then work with the applicant to see if there's a solution towards the rear, but allow for flexibility based on the finding that existing trees are being maintained on site.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that, do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. So it's motion by Schmidt and seconded by Jeff Van den Eyck. Discussion on the motion. Would you be willing to consider amending that to remove the trellis? I think they make the applicant makes a good point about toddlers are going to try to go up that thing. And given the existing fence that's proposed will shield the majority of the surface face of the building from the neighborhood view, it seems like that the trellis would not be that. The concern is more the trellis affects visibility within the site to its participants, and there we have to be really concerned about the safety first.
Valid point, Susan, and I would amend my motion to include the removal of the trellis in that area.
I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Okay, further discussion on the motion. And I just add that, you know, we're all really aware of how critical the need for childcare capacity is, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness of trying to see how this could be expanded and expanded quickly, because the need is large. So then I will call the question.
Hey, Committee Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Committee Member Jeff Van den Eyck,
Yes.
Committee Member Baranek,
Yes.
Committee Member Funk.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-0.
thank you.
And I will go ahead and call Heather and let her know we're done with this part of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I see a thank you guys message from Tony, and we appreciate the applicant being with us today and the support that you've engendered and the comments from members of the community, both the who are needing and participating in childcare and also from the neighborhood, you know, as far as our work goes. So well
let's get it constructed quickly.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of kids out there that that need a place to be nurtured in this way. Okay, and I see one additional caller on our attendees list. So we have concluded this portion of the committee's business. We're awaiting the return of our chair.
Sure.
Okay, I will hand the baton back to you, the gavel, the virtual gavel.
Sounds good.
Back to you, Heather.
I'll pretend I know where we left off.
Okay, and we have completed our work on item number 2 on the agenda and have approved that on a 4-0 vote with a couple of refinements.
Perfect. Then we'll go on to committee member comments and reports. Does anyone have anything to report? No? Everybody's got summer vacation plans? No, I'm kidding. All right, we'll move on to director's report.
I do have summer vacation plans.
Good.
I will be away in the latter portion of August, immediately following the August council meeting to attend a family reunion.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I think Phil's going to keep us busy with his director's report and information on our next meeting on April 29th.
Yes,
Great,
yes.
and-
We are anxiously preparing a report for you right now. And we're going to bring back to you the property at the corner of Santa Barbara Road and El Camino Real, known as Dove Creek, the vacant commercial property. We're really excited about the designs that are evolving for that property. You've seen it before. It's coming back again. They've done some refinements in response to neighborhood comments and in response to the design review committee comments. And anything else you want to add about that project, Kelly? Kelly's working on it. She's doing a great job pulling that together.
Yeah, I
along
don't
with
think
several
so.
other
I
projects.
think it'll be pretty quick. I think they've responded to the neighborhood at each cycle that we've seen them. So this is just really looking at some refined architectural themes.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's coming back. And that same week, we're actually going to be taking a project to the Planning Commission nearby that. That's the famous mini storage project, but it's actually going to the Planning Commission. DRC looked at that last year. It's kind of slowly churning its way through, and we're already receiving a lot of neighborhood comments on that one. So that should be exciting. But anyway, that's it in the short range forecast. Let me know if you've got any questions about development happening around and about town.
How about Barrel Creek? Any update on that?
We don't have an application from Barrel Creek yet. We are anticipating that. We know they're working on it. We haven't seen it yet. We keep hearing little snippets of information, but it's coming along. I know they've worked with a traffic consultant. I know they're working with a design firm on the plans, and they want to submit a complete application, and they want to move forward with a general plan amendment for that property. So that is going to happen. The project that's going to move a little faster though is Del Rio Ranch, and that ultimately is going to come to the DRC, to the Planning Commission, and to the City Council. They're rapidly moving that project forward because they've got to meet some pretty strong timelines in order to meet their escrow agreements from Walmart property, still in Walmart's hands, and they're trying to change that. So they're going to come forward with plans to try and get at least a majority approval on that project, but knowing that they're still going to have phased approval later on for certain components of it. So we're working diligently with traffic engineers and with designers on that project right now as well. But Barrel Creek, a little further along and a much bigger process because it's a substantial general plan amendment. It's going to come along with some substantial traffic improvement needs for that area, but still a lot going on at Del Rio. So it's going to be a busy spot, even though it looks a little quiet over there right now when you drive through that zone.
Great, thank you. Susan.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of comments from folks about rooftop bar on La Plaza. Can you clarify that?
Yes, that's something they've wanted to do for quite a long time on the building building A, which is the bigger building. So as part of that bigger building They do want to have a commercial use on the roof, which is really exciting. But it's really challenging from a building code perspective for access and for a restroom and fitting all the stuff up there. It's a challenge. It's going to happen. We're working on it. It's just difficult to get the particulars. We wish they would have designed that in at the very beginning of the process, but now they're trying to retrofit it into a design that's already there. So a bit challenging, but it is happening. We're really excited about it. And there's also multiple tenants now that are really getting interested in the commercial spaces. And we just gave actually we just did permit review on the very first tenant for downstairs in La Plaza too, which just a yogurt shop, but hey, it's a start. There's also a couple restaurants that are interested. And so we're excited about La Plaza.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
And the sort of containers construction portion of what they're doing that's next to Colony Market and Deli. How's that coming along?
It's coming along excellent. It's fully occupied. There's going to be basically a bar / restaurant. They're going to get food service through from Colony Market and Deli. And then out front, there's going to be an Agranti's ice cream and then a hat shop. And so all the tenants are already occupied in there and they're all signed up. They're doing the finish improvements inside there now. Or in fact, we're reviewing the sign permits for that today, which look beautiful, really neat metal cut. It's going to be our own little funk zone, so to speak, which it's actually really interesting because architecturally it's very different. But I think these vendors, the stores that want to go in there are really attracted to that. So it's unique. And I think it's a nice transition to Colony Market and Deli. And ultimately, I think the Zappas family wants to do something else too with their property that they have their office in right now. So I think that'll be the final phase of what they want to do on those properties. So it's interesting. A lot of prospective stuff happening in downtown, and you've probably noticed our new plaza is coming along nicely as well. And now that the mechanic that was facing the plaza has moved out, and there's new tenants that are shopping that spot, which we're really excited about too. I don't know whether they're going to do some construction there or what, but now that's become a great potential site as well for something to happen. And so at the same time, we're really, really working hard to get grant funding for our downtown plan to tie all these things together. And that is coming along well too. So I think we have some good leads on.
And that'll be folded into the general plan stuff?
Say again, Dennis? Sorry?
And those changes or things that we're talking about now, that'll be folded into the update of the general plan?
Well, these are things that are approved now is what I'm talking about. In terms of the update of the general plan, that's going to look at a much bigger, broader scope. That's going to look at the next 20 years of Atascadero, where we can put more housing, how we can accommodate future transportation to accommodate the housing, how we can do future commercial and economic development, where our community wants to grow or not. So that's a much broader topic than the projects that I'm mentioning now, such as the downtown plan and these tenant spaces, which are already something that can happen and come to fruition under our existing general plan, under our existing zone.
I'm kind of focused in on the downtown area itself, and I know I've been pushing for a very long time the idea of taking the areas behind the Carlton and on the other side of the street and turning the emphasis on the units along Entrada and Traffic Way and trying to make piazzas in those back areas. And they're very eclectic, they're very nice.
Yep.
And so to me, that's kind of something that I want to bring forth when we start talking about that.
There's a lot of great spaces with the alleys. There's a lot of great spaces that can happen. And some of the private property ownership has turned over now to create the energy to make those things happen. So as we evolve out of COVID, I think we're going to see some exciting times for our downtown, and that could be an opportunity as well.
And those commercial spaces, those back areas are very underutilized in terms of square footage.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect.
Susan?
Susan?
Yeah, I would comment in that regard that the key to making those piazza type spaces of that is going to be to get the parking out expand the parking as were planned in the infrastructure enhancement, so that goes into and all along El Camino Real. And we're in the process right now of requesting that Congressman Carbajal choose that project as one of the 10 district projects that he could propose to the House Appropriations Committee for earmarked federal funding.
Oh, cool.
They call them community projects, but it's earmarked funding now, is what it is. And that's, so if you are interested in, adding to the score of folks that are advocating for that, emailing a letter to the congressman about that, emailing it to Laura Christensen by tomorrow morning would get that into the packet.
That's very critical. Yes, I looked at a write-up for that today, as a matter of fact, and contributed to that. So that I think is going to go out later today, or if not tomorrow. Tomorrow's the deadline on that, and that's very promising, very critical. Does require a community match, but that's okay. It's good. It's excellent. The other thing we're looking at is the American Rescue Plan as a potential funding source. So yeah, these are good.
All right. With that, has anybody got anything else to add?
I had
Emily.
Yeah, just minor like North El Camino Real project updates. I felt like I saw a couple of new for sale signs go up on some of the projects we've recently reviewed. And I wondered what the status was on them. And perhaps they're just, for sale or lease for tenant spaces, but I wasn't sure. Specifically the Vandy Vanter project that we reviewed a while back. What's the status on that one?
That's a great question. I think we need to follow up with him. He has stalled a couple of different times. He's had some difficulties getting going with that project.
But he's still building the block wall?
He's finished almost with the block wall. Unfortunately, he did fail to get a couple critical inspections on that block wall while he was building it.
Oy.
So that became problematic. And then he ran into some financial issues, and so he stalled. We are trying to encourage him to keep moving forward. There's nothing stopping him from moving forward. We're not stopping him from moving forward. He doesn't have any tenants that I'm aware of. He has had the property on and off of the market. He has been softly advertising it for tenants. He's also been, fishing for maybe someone to buy the whole property. I'm not really sure. For the time being, he is continuing to run his masonry business out of that property. So at some point, he's going to have to either finish the project or move his construction equipment off of the site and do something different. That's kind of a difficult one. That's all I'll say is sometimes we have difficult customers, and that's a challenging one.
Okay, I remember that potential stressor coming up in the conversation originally, so I wondered what the update was with that new sign. And then the other project that I saw, what I thought was a new sign go up on was the multi-use and entertainment space next to Bay Laurel.
Yes.
What's up with that one?
So that project came through the design review committee. Did it go to planning commission, Kelly? Anyway, it got approved. So are they in for construction permits yet?
They're not in for construction permits yet. As far as we know, they do intend to build it out. So most likely they are looking for tenants. They're a local family that are kind of committed to realizing this vision. Obviously, when you saw it, it was definitely a very custom designed space. So as far as we know, they are moving forward with construction documents.
Wasn't there a lot sandwiched in between that project and the shopping center? I think that's where
there's actually
sign is on that.
Oh, yes, there is a sign.
There's two lots. There's a flag lot in the back and then a lot in the front.
The one with the house on it, where the Hurricane kitchen truck parks all the time. Yeah, that site behind the house is for sale.
Okay.
And that is just north of that site where they plan to do this project that we approved.
Oh, maybe they just updated the sign recently. I was
concerned.
I'm really excited about that project.
Yeah, no, it's going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
The neighbor's excited too.
All right. With that, meeting adjourned.
Have a great afternoon.
Have a nice day.